welcome back, my dear student. Let's talk a little bit about the tools that we're going to need in order for us to have Homestead on our computer. Okay, so first of all, we're going to be needing Vagrant. And Vagrant is the big boy here, okay? So Vagrant is going to be the bots. The bots that has all the software we need to run Laravel successfully in our computer Homestead, okay? So we go to Vagrant and we download a bot called Laravel Homestead. That's going to be a bot. Now, you're not limited just to Homestead, right? Because Homestead is just an environment. So a development environment for Laravel. But we can also go ahead and download other bots for other programming languages. That's what's so great about Vagrant. So Vagrant produces these bots, okay, that we can sync with our computer and the virtual bots that we're going to create later on, the virtual computer or virtual environment. We can sync those two together, and you're going to see how we do it. But just keep this in mind. Vagrant is the one that provides the bots, the pre-configured bots with all the software. Okay, the bots with all the pre-configured software inside. This is Vagrant. Now, we're also going to need virtual bots. Virtual bots is the program that allow us to have a virtual system inside our computer. Okay, so Vagrant is going to give what virtual bots needs to run, like an operating system and then all the tools necessary for Laravel to run successfully, or Homestead. Okay, so remember that Laravel Homestead is just the bots. Vagrant is providing the bots, and virtual bots here is the program itself that allows us to have a virtual computer inside our computer, our virtual system. So you can go ahead and download virtual bots and have even Linux installed in there if you wanted to. Or if you have a copy of Windows and you're in a Mac, you can still use virtual bots to have a Windows machine in your computer without having to go through Vagrant. Okay, virtual bots is a system by itself, but Vagrant uses virtual bots to go ahead and create this virtual environment for you. So we also going to be needing Composer. Now, Composer is necessary, guys. If you're using Laravel, you know this, all right? This is a dependency manager for PHP. I don't have to even go deep into this. And Git, because we're going to be cloning, okay? We need Git, and because we also need version control. Come on, guys. If you're not doing version control right now, you need to start doing it. If I don't have a course on version control on Git and GitHub, go and find yourself one and do it. That's something that you need as a web developer. Okay, that's mandatory for any job out there as well. So there you have it. Those are the tools that we're going to need. In the following lectures, I'm going to go over how to install them, which is pretty simple. Like any other programs, you just install them and run them. As simple as that. Everything by default. I'll show you that in the next lecture. Take care. In this lecture, we are going to be downloading all the software, all the programs that we need in order for us to run Laravel in a environment, basically Homestead. So first things first, I'm in the Laravel.com website, and if it looks different on your side, that's fine. Okay, they're always changing stuff around, so don't worry about it. Go and search for Homestead, and here we're gonna have, I'm gonna make this a little bigger so that way you can see it better. We are going to find that Homestead has instructions. There we go. So we have the instructions here, but sometimes these instructions do not work 100%, and that's why I'm creating a video. But I mean, you are welcome to go to this page and try it out yourself. You just first try it out adding a bots to your terminal or your command prompt. Make sure that you have Vagrant installed first. CD to the home page, okay, and so on and so on. But let me show you how this works. First of all, Homestead is just a bot, okay, packed with a lot of software. Now it has Ubuntu, which is the operating system, and then it has all these tools: Git, PHP 7, MySQL, Nginx, SQLite, all this included in there. This is the stuff that Laravel uses all the time. So when you're getting errors and you're using this in XAMPP, for example, if you're using Laravel in XAMPP and you're getting a lot of errors, it's probably because you don't have one of these tools that you need to run Laravel. For example, this bot is always up to date. Okay, so when you download these bots, they always keep it up to date. As you can see, they're running PHP 7. Maybe you're watching this when PHP 8 is out or PHP 10, but they're always keeping this up to date. So Now the node here, okay, you know, some of you get errors when you are doing Gulp or doing other functionalities with node. That's probably because you don't have a node you don't have node updated. So what is the benefit of actually having Homestead instead of using something like XAMPP or some other software out there? Well, the benefit is this: we have a virtual computer, a virtual bots, okay, just like another computer inside this computer, meaning that when we upgrade our operating system, we don't touch our environment for Laravel. Because right now, if we are running Laravel on XAMPP or MAMP or something like that, and we change our operating system, maybe the XAMPP version, I don't know, version 5.4 or whatever, doesn't work with the operating system that we are using, doesn't work well. So we need to upgrade XAMPP, and then or our projects fail. You know, you see the problem here. And then when you're using that, um, when you're not using Homestead, you also have to use Node in your computer. You also have to install Node in your computer, and that's an inconvenience. Homestead has Node installed, so we don't have to deal with it outside of this bot, so this environment. Okay, so it's a good way of sharing code as well. You can just give that bots pre-configured to somebody already, and with your project, or you give your project and somebody already has this, and they can just start working right away. Okay, so it's pretty cool. So now let me show you how this works. So we install, this is a bots, and I'll show you what I mean when I say a bots. So we are in Vagrant here. This is one of the tools that we are going to be using to connect all this. So Vagrant is this company, okay? And they say right here, they configure lightweight reproducible or reproducible and portable development environments. Okay, so they allow us to make our environment portable. All right, we can take it anywhere we want, and that's really good because you can have that development environment in one machine and just copy that to another machine, and that's it. You're done. You don't have to take your whole computer there. Okay, you can just have that little image of that specific bots, and you're ready to go on another computer or anywhere in the world. Or you can even carry that on a USB drive. So they have these things called boxes here, and you can see Laravel is one of the the most downloadable boxes here. But you can see they have this box here called Laravel Homestead. Okay, and the company is HashiCorp, by the way, and they have all kinds of boxes here. So whatever language you are developing on, you know, you can come and download an environment, a bot for it, and play around with it. Okay, so why is the next tool we need? Well, we need this, so let's download it. And if you are using a Windows computer, go ahead and download it here. Mac here, of course. If you go to archives, you're going to see more downloads files here. And if you go here or any other file, you can see one called DMG. This is for Mac, and one called MSI for Windows. Okay, these are the executable installers. Okay, so we are going to be downloading the Mac because I have a Mac computer. And don't worry if you're using Windows. I'll show you the differences later on between the Windows and the Mac installations. Very similar. We're also going to need virtual bots. This is going to allow us to have a virtual machine inside our computer. We don't even need Vagrant to have a virtual bot, a virtual machine. We can just install virtual bots and then install Windows operating system if we're using a Mac, or we can even install Linux if we are using Windows, whatever we want. So I'm going to be downloading this one because I'm using a Mac. Go ahead and download the Windows host. And Composer, okay? Well, Composer, yes, if you don't have Composer, download it. You're not going to need it entirely because you can create a new Laravel project within Homestead. But go ahead and download it if you want to work locally. This is very good. But Homestead already has Composer. Okay, and we are also going to need Git. Well, Windows users, I suggest you download Git. Git is a version control software, but at the same time, it has a shell, a bash shell that we can use to execute code. And I like to use the Git version instead of the command prompt in Windows because this Git version has very similar commands to Linux. Okay, and if you notice in the Homestead machine, we have Ubuntu, which is a Linux operating system. Okay, so we're going to be executing Linux commands all the time when we're dealing with Laravel. So download this. Okay, I already have it downloaded in my computer. Just download it and follow the prompts and make sure that all the options are default. You just click enter, 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 okay, enter, okay. Okay, just download that one. Let me just go over the downloads for this one. So Composer for Mac, you can see that all we have to do is paste that in there. Okay, I already have it installed, so if I get some type of errors, don't worry about it. I'll show you Windows how to download this one in a minute, but it's super easy. Okay, so anyway, you just keep, sorry about that. Just keep executing this. You see installer verify, excuse me. We come here. Okay, it's downloading that. And then we just take it off. Simple as that. Okay, and now we type in Composer. And now we're gonna get this retro text here. Okay. Same thing. Well, for Windows is a little bit different. Let's go to getting started here. Let's go locally. Windows is right here. So on Windows, it's actually easier because all you have to do in Windows is, well, it's not easier, but you come and click here and you follow the prompt. It's going to ask you, just choose everything by default, but it's going to ask for the path of a php.executable file. Now, if you're using XAMPP, okay, and if you're not using it, download it or have it somewhere. When it asks you for the path, click Browse and go to your programs, your C drive, your XAMPP folder, and I believe inside your XAMPP folder is we have a PHP folder, and then inside that PHP folder, you're gonna find php.executable file, .exe. Okay, and that's the file that you need to find, okay, to finish the installation for Composer. So make sure you find that php.exe inside the XAMPP folder. Okay, basically you need to have PHP installed. Okay, so it's just easier to have XAMPP. If you already have PHP installed, just find that executable and that's it. Okay, so that's that for that. And let's come back here to Vagrant because it finished downloading. And I'm gonna be pausing this a little bit because it really does take a while to download Vagrant, depending on the connection you have. If you have a very slow connection, this might take a while. My connection is around, this connection that I'm using in this place is around 500 megabits per second download. Okay, that's supposed to be downloading. Here's the installer. Just click everything default like I said, and it's asking me for a password. For Windows users, probably gonna ask you it's going to your firewall or your security settings are gonna say something like accept. Click OK, and this is just going to install. At the end, this is going to ask you to restart your computer. Okay, if not, don't worry about it then. But if you don't find it later on, if you don't find the installation of Vagrant later, you need to restart your computer. So let's wait for this. I'm gonna pause the video and I'll be back. It's gonna take 1 second for you. That was 1 second, right? Well, for some reason, it's not asking me to restart. Let me see. I closed it. So it's not asking me to restart. Maybe this new version, you don't have to restart it. Or maybe because I already had Vagrant, it's not asking me, but I don't know. So I'm not going to restart my computer. I'm just going to check to see if it works later on. So I'm going to open the terminal here. Well, let's first come back here. We have Composer installed. VirtualBots. Let's install VirtualBots. Okay, that finished. Let's just click here. Again, my computer is super fast, guys. I'm also have a SSD drive. So if it's taking a long time in yours, don't feel bad. It's just the way it is. I was using a Windows computer the other day, and it had a regular hard drive, megabits, 8 megabytes of RAM, 8 gigabytes of RAM, and let's just click continue here. Continue, and it had a 500 gig of hard drive, and it was very slow. Okay, I don't have anything against Windows. Actually, I don't like Windows too much, but especially for web development, as you can tell, most web developers use Mac. It's very hard to be coding with Windows. It just makes things a little harder. If you're already used to Windows, go ahead. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that once you get used to a Mac, even though they are very expensive, it's just a lot better. The workflow is a lot better, especially with Linux command and things like that. You can run out of your terminal. Okay, so I'm gonna pause this. This one might take a little while. This really took a while. It took a couple minutes for me, but anyway, that's it. We're done with this one. Now, if you're using Windows, even if you're using a Mac, go ahead and download Git, okay? And choose everything by default. That way you have a Git bash, and make sure that you choose the option where you're gonna have your desktop icon on the desktop, okay? Where you're gonna have a shortcut. So that way you can access your Git shell from anywhere. And that's just because it's a lot better than the command prompt. You can use the command prompt though. Okay, so we have virtual bots, we have Composer, and we have Vagrant. Now, if we come here, let's clear this up a little bit. And let's do Vagrant --, version. And that's just going to give you the version number. It's just 1.9 in my case. We know we have Composer installed. Okay. We know we have virtual bots, and I don't know the command by heart, but I can check right here in my applications if I have virtual bots somewhere. I'm just gonna look for it here, virtual bots, as you can see. Okay, and of course Git. We know I have Git, so I know that. Okay, so we have everything we need. On the next lecture, we're gonna learn how to install Homestead. We're gonna start installing it. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next lecture. Take care. So for Windows users, make sure that you open your Git shell. Okay, so open it up. We're gonna open up our terminal here for Mac users, and I'm gonna make this a little bigger so that way you can see what I'm doing. And I'm just gonna clear this. Okay. All right, so let's go and look at the first steps here. It says that we need to add a bot. So we're gonna execute a Vagrant command here, Vagrant bots add, and we're gonna add the Laravel Homestead bots. Okay, so let's go here and we can paste that in there. Some of you might have to run sudo super user. So I'm just gonna run it the way it is here. Actually, you know what? Just to make sure that everything gets installed the right way, I'm going to run it as a sudo super user. Put my password in there. Windows users, you don't have to do that. Okay, I don't think so. I'm not 100% sure you have to. I don't think you have a super user in your computer, but you can run it as an administrator. So you're welcome to do that if it's possible in the Windows computer. I'm not 100% sure, but anyway, we're gonna run it like this. We're gonna wait for this to finish installing it. Okay, adding it basically is downloading the bots, and it's doing, and we're gonna be doing some configuration. It's going to ask us some questions. So I'm gonna pause this. When it finishes, or when it prompts me for a question, when it prompts me with a question, I will unpause the video. Okay, it's gonna take 1 second for you. Pause the video. It's probably took 1 second for you guys, right? Well, it's downloading it right now. First of all, for Windows users, you can also use command prompt. Okay, you can look for it in you have some type of options here where you can search. If you're using Windows 10, and you can search for the command prompt, CMD, or if you have Windows 7, whatever other window, you can still search for that, okay? By doing run cmd, and it will open up the terminal, okay? So this new version here is using this VMware desktop. Okay, I wasn't expecting this. Usually I get a prompt asking me if I want to choose virtual bots, and this time I got this. Okay, but I don't know what's going on. Let's keep installing. If we get any type of error later on, we know that this has something to do with it. But if you downloaded your bots successfully, and if you got prompted for asking you what do you want to use, choose virtual bots. Okay, for some reason mine is telling me this, maybe because I already had this software inside my computer. So but anyway, so what's the next step? I'll fix that in my side later on. If you other Mac users have this as well, we'll fix it later. But keep in mind that if you get prompted to choose virtual bots, make sure that you choose that. So we're gonna go to the home directory, and we do that by typing cd, the little tilde that's very close to the escape key, and that would take us to our this place here, our home directory. Okay, this is where everything is in our computer. Now, if you do this in the git shell, you will also get this. Okay, with Windows, you're gonna have a problem. Okay, if you try to do ls on the Windows command prompt, you're gonna have a problem. But if you download git, use that, you're good to go. So we gotta actually clone this. So we're gonna use git to clone it. So everybody should have git installed, and then we paste that in here. Oops, we paste the git clone, enter. Mine's already exists, that's fine. So I got an error, but that's fine. It's because I already have mine. But when you download it, what this is going to do is going to give you a homestead directory right here. That's what we are actually cloning. See that? So in this homestead directory, if we go cd homestead and we check the contents here, we're gonna see that we have some stuff here, right? The main file here is called vagrant file. Okay, this is where we have our configuration. Now here we're gonna run this command that is going to, and if you go cd.ls-la, we are in the home directory. Now we can see all the system files. This dot means system files. Okay, and we can see here everything that's there. We can see composer here. What else we have? We should have a vagrant file somewhere. We have a vagrant right here. I'm also using valet. That's another alternative to homestead. Okay, Laravel valet. Okay, that's another alternative, but I don't use this much. It's super easy to install. Here's the installation. You can use Homebrew to install it. Basically, it does the same thing as Homestead, but it doesn't have all the software that we have here. It's basically a faster way to launch projects. Okay, because with this, you can come and you can start the valet. Okay, once you install it, all you have to do is do composer, create project, and once you create it, and let me show you you see, once you do this, Laravel new project, you can just go here and that's it. It's done. It's created for you. You don't have to go and set up the host, set up the YAML file. You don't have to set up anything else. You can just go, once you create it, go here once you set up Valet. But then you don't have all this software here. Okay? You just have a couple of software, but you don't have some of the stuff that sometimes we use in the Laravel projects. Okay, but it's pretty useful. But anyway, so what I wanted to show you here is that there is a file that we are going to be creating now by calling this functionality right here, this bash init .sh. We don't have that homestead. Okay, we're gonna create that right now. So let's go to that directory, cd homestead, and here we're just gonna execute bash init.sh. Enter, and you can see that already have one. Okay, and I didn't see it here. It's supposed to show it to me. That is right here, guys. Okay, I already have it, but that's what's going to create it. I'm not going to override mine, but you're gonna of course create yours, and yours is gonna say um, initialize or something like that. Okay, so now we go to this folder, Homestead. Let's, I typing no. Well, we already initialized it. Okay, so Homestead is there. Let's go to c dot homestead. Oh, let's make sure we are in the home page. C dot homestead. Enter ls, and here you're gonna have a file and called homestead.yum. And let me just actually, you know what? I'm gonna delete this so that way we are on the same page. Okay. Now I'm gonna go to cd the home directory, and there we go. You see that it says homestead initialize. So now let's go back cd dot dot to go back, and let's go to cd dot homestead. Enter ls, and you can see the file here. Okay, so now for Windows users, you can go ahead and use Vin, which is an editor, to get into that file. Okay, so for me, I'm gonna be using Nano, and I'm gonna go to homestead.yum. Make sure, like I said, Windows users use Vin, and I'm gonna show you in a minute how to navigate on Vin. So Nano homestead.yum. Now, in order for you to edit anything, Windows users, click I on type I on your keyboard, and you're gonna be able to type in anything you want. Okay, so what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna leave everything the way it is. I don't want to edit anything because we're gonna create a project called homestead.app. But actually, you know what? I'm going to rename this to homestead. Homestead, like this. Okay, so that way, this is our virtual machine right here. This is where in our Ubuntu machine, when we log in via SSH later, you're gonna see we're gonna be in a folder called home, vagrant, code, homestead, and this public is where we are gonna have our project. Homestead, that app is going to be hosted right here. So that way we don't have to type all this. We can just go to homestead app. That's why this YAML file is there. Plus we can set up some configurations like memory. This is gonna be the configuration for a virtual environment, okay guys? Now, as you can see here, this is asking us for a key, okay? Now, this key, you need to have these keys in your computer, the private and the public key that I'm in right here. This is the public and the private. If you don't have that, I'm going to show you where they are. They are in the home directory, CD and the tilde. They should be there. ls and then -la, you should see that system file, system folder. Okay, so if you don't have it, don't worry, we're going to create them in a minute. But here, this is very important because this folder is where we're going to be mapping, okay, our code in the computer to our Vagrant machine. You don't have to touch this Vagrant machine map here. So here is saying we're going to be mapping from our home directory cd tilde. We're going to be having a code folder. That's where our code is going to be located, our files, our sites. Okay, so if I wanted to create more sites, I would come here and copy this, come back here. Don't do this right now, but I just want to show you. Paste that in there, and this would be homestead number 2, for example, and I'll change it here as well. And then I'll make sure that this aligns exactly the way that one is. If you have any type of indentation that is not proper here, you will get an error. Make sure everything is exactly. Sometimes you even have to go up and delete it a little bit, come down, space until it's exactly the same in the same level. Okay. Now here you can create your databases. Out of the box, we have a Homestead database. If we wanted to create another database, we change the name here. Well, you can create unlimited databases. If you want more databases, just create them here. Make sure everything aligns properly. Okay. So I'm gonna leave this the way it is actually. Okay, we're done with this file. For Windows users, if you're done, hit the escape key. Okay, and you're gonna see like a little prompt in the bottom. Once you hit the escape key, if you don't see that, don't worry, just hit the escape key, then colon, shift, and those little where the semicolon is. So escape key, colon, W, Q, which means write and quit. Okay, so if it's not WQ, it's QW, but I think I'm certain that it's WQ. And then that way you can write and quit. If you want to quit without writing anything, you would type in Q exclamation or exclamation Q, one of those two. But always escape first. Escape, colon, and then the command. And you can look for those commands out there. And for us, for Mac users, we're gonna say Control X and Y for yes, and then enter. So we finish doing this now. We're good to go. Now we need to refresh this. Okay, this file, actually we need to provision it. So let's actually go to CD Homestead. Actually, we are in the file pwd, and you can see that we are in the .homestead. We don't want to be there. CD dot CD capital H to the Homestead directory, and here we're going to be doing vagrant up. Let's see if this works. Enter. The home directory you specify is not writable. Oh, that's right, we haven't created that directory. So let's create a directory. We are in the, let's go out, cd dot, and here we are in the home directory. So let's do make directory like this, mkdir, and then code, capital CODE. There we go. Now we got to go to the CD capital Homestead, and here is where we run our vagrant up just to turn on our machine. Okay, but we're gonna do that in the next lecture because this is getting kind of long. Okay, so and then I'll see you in the next lecture. Take care. Welcome back, my dear students. So on the last lecture we got to the point where we could have, do vagrant up in a Homestead directory, and we could have turned on the machine. But I wanted just to make sure that just in case we run into any problems, we don't make that lecture like 30 minutes long, right? That lecture was big enough. So anyway, so I am in the home directory, and I just did cd tilde there. We're gonna go to Homestead, and we're gonna run vagrant up. Okay, and of course nothing always goes 100%. We have a little situation here, but I'm afraid this is only for the Mac users. I think I have an idea why. Remember when we ran the sudo command when we were installing vagrant? Well, that created an issue. I can see here we have this user, and it should be this user. So that's an easy fix. The way we got to do this is we got to change the owner. So we got to do ch change owner flag R, capital R, and then V. The owner that we want, in this case, is going to be my username. Make sure that you put your username, the one that you're using in this in your computer, and the name of the file. In my case, it's going to be vagrant. In your case as well. Enter, and we get some type of issue because we were supposed to run the sudo command, and this time it's going to be fine, don't worry. Okay, that's just for Mac users. Okay, so now let's run, before we run vagrant, I want you to make sure that you have some SSH keys, okay? So if you do ls-la in your home directory, you try to see if you can find this SSH folder. If you have it there, then there's a very good chance that you have keys, private keys and public keys that you're going to need. If we are going to need in order for us to SSH into our machine. So let's go to the SSH by saying cd.ssh, enter, and let's look inside. As you can see, I have two keys in here. I have my secret key and my public key. Okay, so if I do nano id rsa here, that is going to, well, pub, that is going to show me a uh, big thing of like this of many characters. That's going to be the public key. So I have it, but if you don't have it, don't worry about it. I'm going to show you how to make one. So cd dot dot, let's get out of there. And here you could have made it there as well, but here you're going to type a command called ssh and then keygen like this -t rsa, enter. It's generating the public key and it's telling me where do I want to save. I just click enter. Okay, and it's asking me, hey, listen, you already have a key, do you want to override it? I'm gonna say no, but if you don't have a key, you're not gonna get this prompt. You're not gonna get prompted to override it. Okay, so I'm not gonna override mine. I just wanted to show you how you can make yours. So just click enter, 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 enter until it's done. I'm gonna say no, and that's it. Okay, and now you're gonna see that you're gonna have that folder with those keys in there. Okay, all right, so we're done with that. Let's go to our Homestead directory and let's do vagrant up here. Okay, oh, another thing that I forgot to mention, and we're gonna do this in a minute. If this fails for you, my machine, it looks like it's already running, but if this fails for you, it's because maybe you don't have a folder called code. So let's do that. Let's make sure that we have that. I have it. Okay, so if I do ls in the home directory, I can see that folder in there called code. So do mkdir capital CODE. Okay, and it's telling me it already exists, of course, but create that real quick. Okay, because remember that we are mapping our vagrant machine to that code. So let me show you. If we go to that, and you don't have to come with me, but and do this. Watch. Remember that we're mapping that folder right here. You see that is in the home directory, capital C code, to our vagrant machine. Simple as that. Okay. So my machine is working, is running already, and that's because I already had it running. But if yours wasn't running, you're gonna see a whole bunch of lines getting executed. Okay. So I'm gonna go to that folder. I'm gonna go cd dot dot. I'm gonna go to that Homestead directory because here's where we execute our vagrant commands. That's why it's good to have some type of alias. Okay, so that way you can, you know, just execute vagrant commands from anywhere in your computer. So anyway, I'm gonna do, since I did vagrant up already, my machine's running, I'm gonna do vagrant provision. And a vagrant provision is good to do when you make a change in the YAML file. So I'm assuming that you made some type of change. Oh, and another thing, if you have some type of problem, like a syntax error, I think I have one here, like that I had before. And I like to show you my errors because that way you can fix yours. So if you run your vagrant up and you have some type of error that says parse unknown found a tab character, okay, mistake, make sure that you go over that file and fix it. Okay, tabs are super easy to fix. So for example, well, they're very easy to make. Sometimes they're very hard to find, but they could be very easy once you know what you're doing. So if I go to the home directory and I go to that file, I go to that YAML file again. Let's go there. here's that where that error will be, that syntax error. If you run Vagrant up and it says something about syntax or a tab. So if you make some type of change somewhere here and you have an extra tab somewhere, let's say for example, watch this. I'm going to make this failed intentionally so that way you can see it. You see, I just made a little tab problem there. It's a little tab, and I'm gonna get out of here, go to the Homestead directory to run our Vagrant machine. I'm gonna run Vagrant provision this time because my machine is running. And watch this. You see that error? That's because I had a tab there. So I'm showing you this because I know how hard it is to set this up sometimes when you don't know what you're doing and you can make a mistake, and it can take you days or even weeks to fix. So let's go back and let's fix it. Okay, so now we can see that we have that tab there. Let's bring that guy down here. We got to make sure it aligns with the one on top here. Okay, and when you're making other sites, I'll show you that later, but make sure that they all align properly, guys. I can't stress this enough. Any little tab, any space to the side here will give you a syntax error. Okay, it happened to me many times when I first started installing this, and that was a long time ago. But anyway, so now let's go to that. Let's get out of here and go to cd the Homestead directory, and let's run Vagrant provision because we just made a change. Simple as that. Okay, as you can see, this is what you're going to see in Vagrant when you're doing Vagrant up. Okay, so first Vagrant provision if you make a change, and then Vagrant up. Okay, so now my machine is already running. So if I run Vagrant up, it's going to give me some type of prompt here saying, hey, your machine is already up. Okay, machine's already provisioned. Okay, so once it's up, you can just say Vagrant SSH in that same Homestead directory. That's where you're going to be running this. And that's it. You see that? Now we are inside that Vagrant Homestead machine. And now if you do ls here, you can see that folder in there. Okay? Let me open a new tab on this terminal here. Let's go to the home directory. And if I do ls here, you can see that I have a directory here called code. Make sure that you have that. MK directory code. Simple as that. And that will create that directory there. If you don't have that, you're going to get an error. Okay? So cd code, and I'm going to be inside this directory. Now I can create a Laravel project. Okay? And we're going to do that in the next lecture. Thank you so much. See you then. Take care. Welcome back, my dear students. So on this lecture, we're finally going to create a new Laravel project or installation. So I'm already SSH'd into the machine, okay, where I did Vagrant SSH on the last lecture, I believe, and I just left it there. So here, all we have to do is type in Laravel new, because Laravel has an installer called Laravel. And you can actually install this globally, and you can find that information in the documentation. If you want to use this from your computer, you can. But I'm just going to SSH into my Homestead machine and do it from here. So Laravel new and whatever, we got a project already called Homestead in the YAML file. We have this configuration there. Okay, make sure that you have, and I don't know if I said this already, in the home directory, make sure that you do MK directory and create that capital CODEE. Okay, that folder needs to be there. Already have it. Okay, because we are mapping to that folder from the YAML file. You see that folder right here? Okay, just verifying that. Enter. And if we go back to that folder, cd ls, you can see that we already have a file here called Homestead. It's already creating that. Okay, and look at that, it's already creating all those files there. So it created all the folders, and then it's going inside and creating all those files individually. So right now this is almost finishing, and let's just wait for it. I was gonna pause the video, but I think this is just a couple seconds away from installing. So while this is my workflow, okay, I'm gonna show you my workflow when we create a second project. So this already created, you see this PHP artisan key generate. With this command here, you create another key for your application. So when you get a new application, let's say some other developer send you one of these configuration files, you can create a new Laravel application with this. This key is in the .env file, okay? And every time you execute this command, you create a new one. It keeps giving you a new one. But anyway, so we do ls on our Vagrant machine. We can see that that's there. If I do Command T, it's gonna open another tab in my terminal. And we can see, if we go to our code, well, we gotta go to our home directory, and we go to that code, we can see that that's there as well, okay? So we can execute commands from here. So if we go to Homestead, we can do some PHP artisan commands here, but I like to do all my commands here because I do a lot of migrations, and migrations will not work in your local machine here, okay? Unless you're using something like XAMPP or something like that. We're using our MySQL machines are gonna be inside here, inside Homestead. That's where MySQL is going to be. So I'm going to go to that file. Now, if let's go to our, let's go to, actually, as a matter of fact, we have no Laravel installation right now. So, well, we have a Laravel installation, but we're not serving it. So in order for us to see our Laravel installation, we just have to type in PHP artisan serve from within that application folder. Okay, you see we are in the Homestead. Okay, so that's serving there. As you can see, that's listening. Every time you see your cursor here doing nothing on the second line and it's not flashing or anything, and you execute a command like this, it's listening for it. So let's go to this URL here, import 8000, and let's come back here, and voila, you see your application there. Now you can go ahead and open that code, open this in an editor, this file right here, which is in your home directory. Now, I don't usually have this in the home directory. I like to have this like in another directory where I can access it easily, okay, because I want to be able to open it from my editor in an easier way. Okay, so what I would do is, I'm here, let's before we do that, let me show you something. This is listening here to this port, which is really ugly. And I like to give my application names like homestead.app or .development or dev, whatever. So I use this when I'm doing something really fast, but this is not the way to do it. Okay, so let me show you the right way of doing that. I'm gonna do Command Control C there to take that out. And if you go back to your application, you refresh it, you can still see that that's there. But anyway, so this is the way I do it. Let's go to another window here. I go cd / etc, which is etc folder, and I'm gonna do sudo nano here. Windows users, remember Vim, and then go to your etc folder, etc, whatever that is in Windows, and find your host. Okay, so if you're taking my PHP for Beginners Laravel course, my Laravel for Beginners course, you know where your host files is for Windows users. Okay, we did that many times, and that's easy to find. I don't remember from the top of my head right now where it is. I haven't used it in months, but it's super easy to find. Now here in this host file is where we need to, as you can see, we already have some addresses here. We have the 127.0.1, which is for localhost. Here we have to type in, let's go open another tab, Command T, let's go to the home directory, and let's go cd.homestead. Let's open this up right away. I'm just gonna do nano. I know the file already. I just wanted you guys to get used to it. Okay, so we can see this IP address. That's the IP address that we need to type in that host file. So let's go here and then we just say 192.168.10.10 space whatever name we want for our application. In our case, it's going to be homestead.app. Okay, we are defining that right here as well. We're mapping that. Okay, so we come and save that, and then we should be able to see that. We'll come back here, homestead.app, and you can see your application there. Okay, super simple to do. Let's come back here, and you don't have to even use this anymore. So every time, I'll show you my workflow later on when we're creating more applications, but that's it for this lecture. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Welcome back, my dear students. So in this lecture, I want to show you my workflow. And this is not going to be 100% my workflow because I don't have the aliases in this computer here. Usually I have an alias that would take me to the host file, like this host, and that would take me to the etc. host file. And then I would have another alias that would take me to the YAML file, and we call YAML file. And that would take me to the, cd home this. Okay, actually it would take me to this location, cd homestead, and it would take me here. Okay, so my aliases would take me there like this, and that would be this file here, this command yama file. It will execute this cd whatever. Okay, those are the aliases that I would have in my workflow. So it's pretty fast. Now to create aliases in a Mac computer, you need a file called bash profile. And I believe for Windows, you also have a bash profile. You could do that. I'm not 100% sure. I might create a couple lectures following this lecture here to deal with aliases, okay? But I might create some Windows lectures as well. I'm not 100% sure, even though you guys can Google it. It's not hard to find a way to do aliases for Windows. But if you're having a lot of issues, let me know, message me, and I'll probably create a couple lectures in the Windows operating system. And for a Mac, it's super simple. You come here to your home directory. Actually, we are in the wrong place. We need to be in our computer. We go to the home directory and we opened it bash profile. And if you don't have that file, you create it. Okay, so let's first check to see if you have it. Actually, it's LA. So it's called .bash, and we got bash history and bash sessions. We don't have that bash profile. So you would you would come here and you say .bash underscore profile. Okay, and when you do this, automatically, if it doesn't exist, Nano is going to create it for you. So let's create one real quick. Let's go and enter. Okay, so let's create an alias, and let's just say alias. And what do we want to call that alias? Well, let's say we want to go to the host file, host. So we want to type in host, and that's it. And then here we just say, okay, cd All right, that's the command that I wanted to happen. /etc actually is going to be sudo nano like this, etc, and then host. Simple as that. That's it. This is for a Mac operating system, guys. Save it. Now we need to refresh that file. Okay, so we are in the home page still, and we say source dot profile, enter. Okay, now if we type in host, it's gonna ask us for a password. Oops, that was the wrong password, and you can see we are there. So let's do it again. Host, voila. Super simple to create an alias, guys. You can do the same thing for your YAML file. Okay, so now let's go back to our nano, to our patch profile, and create one for the YAML file. YAM, and we want to go to our home /d is the Homestead folder, and here we have capital H homestead.yam file. Okay, I don't think we have to type in, well, actually I don't think we have to do sudo nano there. Let's just do nano real quick, and that's it. So command X, let's get out of there, let's refresh it, and let's get to it. Let's do that. Let's say yam, enter, and there we go, our YAML file. And for Windows users, this is very similar. Okay, just Google it, and if you can't do it, message me and I'll create a lecture about it. But please try to do it. Okay, it's not hard. So create some type of aliases. So that's it for this lecture. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next lecture. Take care. In this lecture here, I'm going to show you my workflow, since we already have some aliases that I use. Okay, we're gonna come very close to my workflow. So first of all, I will go to home page. Okay, and let's say I want to create a new Laravel installation. What is the first thing I do? Well, first of all, we need to set up our YAML file, right? Well, we go to YAML file here, and we just come here and we just say, okay, I want to create a new Laravel installation. I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste it in here. Let's call this guy demo. Simple as that. This guy demo, like this. Let's bring it down a little bit. Make sure they are aligned properly. Okay, that's done. And then we go make sure that we go to host. Okay, simple as that. Come back here, 92.168.10.10 demo.app. Simple as that. Now we go to home page, to this folder, and we just say vagrant provision. If I can get this right, that would be nice. Jeez, what's going on with that word? Vagrant provision. Let that running a little bit. That's done. Then we go and say, we could, if we wanted to, create a use composer from our local machine to create our application. Okay, so super simple. We can come here and go to that code, and right here we can just say composer create project Laravel and we can create the project. Okay, but that's not my workflow. So once I do the YAML file and the host file, and as you saw there, I'm inside the I did the vagrant provision. So YAML file, host file, we jump in here, we do vagrant provision. And then let me make sure that I'm in that folder, by the way. Okay, then after I do vagrant provision, I just SSH, vagrant SSH into my machine. I do this, and then I do Laravel, make sure it's new, demo. And that's going to create an application which is going to be available in the URL shortly. Okay, so now we come here, and it's not, I don't think it's available yet, but that app, enter, and you can see that it's taking a long time. That's because it hasn't finished yet. It looks like let's double check this. It hasn't finished yet. It's still loading the class. Compiling has been removed and done. Let's check it. I'm gonna do it again. Demo that app. That means that we have a problem with our app, okay? So the way to inspect this would be to go to our YAML file. So let's come back here real quick. Let's see here, let's go to our YAML file and let's check it out. Oh, and another thing here, if you see this command here, YAML is not available in this tab here because we didn't do it there. Okay, so sometimes you might have to open a new window. Let's make this a little bigger. Okay, so let's go to our home page. Let's actually do YAML. There we go. And let's make sure that this is set correctly here. Okay, it looks like this is correct. Demo that app. Let's go to our host file. And this is incorrect. And you probably saw that, didn't you? And you didn't tell me. All right. Let's check it now. Okay, now we should have something working. If we find a just to show you, okay, and I'm leaving this lecture, by the way, because I want you to understand that when something like that happens, what homes. I think that's the best ever. I wish I had an instructor that will leave those mistakes so that I could learn. Well, I wish it happened before when I first started. Okay, thank you so much for watching.